It started with a tweet, like so many political earthquakes in the Trump era. This weekend, President Donald Trump announced a stunning new policy proposal: 100% tariff on all foreign-produced films. That's right. Whether it's a blockbuster shot at Pinewood Studios in London or an indie drama filmed on the streets of Budapest, if it wasn't made on U.S. soil, Trump wants to double its cost of entry into the American market. Hollywood, which has already been reeling from labor strikes, a post-COVID production slump, and the rise of AI, is now facing something it never anticipated: a full-scale trade war over creativity. The proposal caught the global film industry completely off guard. Executives scrambled into emergency meetings. International co-productions hit pause. And in Europe, where U.S. films account for 60% of box office revenue, there was disbelief, confusion, and fury. A UK producer put it bluntly: "This makes no sense." Another asked, "Do the Mission Impossible films now have to shoot in Iowa instead of Italy?" Mel Gibson, one of Trump's hand-picked Hollywood ambassadors, is ironically preparing to shoot The Passion of the Christ sequel in Rome. What now?
As the industry tries to decode this surprise announcement, here's what we know. The tariff proposal has no clear enforcement mechanism, no timetable, and no legal clarity. Is a film a product or a service? Can it even be taxed this way under international trade law? Nobody's quite sure.
But make no mistake, the ripple effects could be seismic, from Marvel movies in the UK to French art house films sold at Cannes. The creative economy is staring down an existential threat. The question tonight: is this the return of American protectionism, or just political posturing with a Hollywood backdrop? Coming up, we'll take you inside the closed-door meetings in LA, the backlash from Europe, and the very real fear that Hollywood's global future is on the brink. Stick with us. This is Voice of America.
In Hollywood, the initial reaction to Trump's tariff announcement wasn't just shock, it was panic on Sunday night. As the news ricocheted across social media, studio executives, producers, and guild reps flooded into emergency Zoom calls and late-night war rooms. The core question: what does this even mean?
Directing in the U.S. is already down 40% after last year's massive strikes by actors, and screenwriters. And now, just as the industry begins to rebound, Trump's announcement threatens to throw the global supply chain of film into chaos.
Even major franchises like Avengers, which recently moved filming to the UK for tax advantages, could suddenly be subject to tariffs that double their distribution costs in the US. A source inside Disney told us, quote, "This isn't just unworkable, it's surreal."
This isn't just about Europe. American studios have news clip production pipelines hub, international partnerships, Hungarian sound stages, French VFX firms, New Zealand location crews. Tariffing these films would mean either absorbing the cost or passing it on to the audience. And guess what? Neither option sits well in a business already squeezed by streaming losses.
You can't just uproot production overnight. Some films are mid-shoot in Bulgaria, others in post-production in Berlin. What happens to those? Do we halt them, pay more, scrap them entirely? And then there's the guilds, according to insiders, Trump's unofficial Hollywood advisors, John Voight and his manager Stephen Paul, have been quietly taking meetings with unions to gather intel, SAG-AFTRA, and the Directors Guild reportedly warned them that any attempt to force domestic only production will result in job losses, not gains.
Because here's the hard truth while bringing productions back home sounds patriotic. It's not that simple. US states like Georgia and New York offer incentives, sure, but they don't always match what Hungary or the UK can offer without a federal film incentive. This tariff may be a stick without a carrot.
And even if the intention is to create jobs in America, well, a lot of people think it could backfire, as one studio insider put it to us, quote, "Trump's just gonna make us use AI sets and actors faster. That's the real future if this goes through."
Policy or just more political spectacle, one thing's certain: Hollywood has been thrown into defensive mode. And as one industry veteran told us, you don't gamble with $1 trillion global economy unless you understand it. And he doesn't. Europe's fury, France's warnings, and Italy's carefully worded diplomacy, the international backlash is growing, and the cultural bridge between continents may be burning.
While Hollywood scrambled to decode the tariff threat across the Atlantic, the response was swift. And furious in the UK, where dozens of American productions are filming, the reaction bordered on disbelief. "This is nuts," one veteran producer told us. Even unemployed Americans are saying, "This is nuts."
It's absurd US film shoot here because of our crews, our studios, our incentives. Now what? Do you bring Harry Potter back to Brooklyn?
Mission Impossible to Nebraska. London is home to Pinewood Studios, where franchises like Star Wars, James Bond, and Avengers had been crafted. Trump's tariff, if enacted, would penalize those films despite being American production, just for choosing a foreign location. And that's just the beginning. Host, everyone would lose out, starting with the US industry itself. Europe, and France in particular, are major markets for American works, which represent roughly 60% of content consumed across the continent.
This is not just about money. It's about culture. We buy, we watch, we celebrate American films. Why sabotage that relationship?
In Rome, Cinecittà Studios is preparing to host Mel Gibson's The Resurrection of the Christ, the sequel to his controversial 2004 epic. The irony is not lost on Italian officials. One of Trump's handpicked Hollywood ambassadors is about to violate his own president's proposed tariff.
Exchanges between countries must be as reciprocal and circular as possible. American productions benefit from our ecosystem of beauty, style, and tax incentives.
In Hungary, the Czech Republic, and Germany, where entire studio cities exist to serve US productions, local commissioners are scrambling for answers. In Prague, Pavlina Zhipkova, the film commissioner, told us. The statement raises more questions than answers. And in Hungary, Film Commissioner Saba Kale noted that implementation would be a lengthy process, but the diplomatic damage may come much quicker.
And that's the key. Cannes is just around the corner. And while it's usually a celebration of cinema, this year there's a chill in the air. Film sales, global deals, and cross-border partnerships may all hinge on what happens next.
If Trump is serious, US-European film relations are facing their biggest rupture since the dawn of globalized movie making. As one French producer put it, we don't sell goods, we sell services. So how can this even be taxed?
Coming up next, the legal maze. Can films be tariffed at all? What happens to projects already in motion? And could Trump's policy be dead on arrival in court?
If you're wondering how any of this could possibly work legally, you're not alone. Lawyers, trade experts, and economists are all asking the same question. Can a movie even be tariffed under international law? Films, unlike cars or steel, aren't physical goods that pass through customs. They're considered services, or in many trade agreements, intellectual property. That puts Trump's proposed 100% tariff in a legal gray zone.
There's no precedent for this. You can't just declare that a streaming file or film reel shot in Budapest is now a taxable import. That's not how services work under WTO rules. Indeed, many legal experts argue this could backfire. FAST, the World Trade Organization, to which the US is still a member, strictly limits tariffs on services like film and television. If challenged, Trump's proposal could land in court or arbitration for months, maybe years.
It could end up in court and take months, maybe longer. And while we wait, are studios just supposed to sit on completed movies?
The confusion gets worse when you consider films already in the pipeline. What happens to projects in post-production or films mid-shoot in Europe or Asia? Would they suddenly face retroactive taxation when released in the US?
We've got films in every stage: previs, shooting, post, even scoring. Are we supposed to pull them all back, delay release, double our budgets? No one knows. And if you think the solution is to just shoot everything in America, think again. That would require rebuilding vast amounts of infrastructure, sound stages, VFX houses, location diversity. And let's not forget, production often go abroad to escape American labor and cost structures.
Even if Trump's legal team finds a workaround, say redefining films as digital imports, they'd still face constitutional challenges from Hollywood and possibly even pushback from Congress. Not all Republicans are thrilled by the idea of tariffs, particularly ones that hit the entertainment industry, which remains a key U.S. export.
We're supposed to be the party of free markets and deregulation, not top-down punishment for an industry Trump doesn't like.
One final complication: retaliation if the U.S. taxes foreign-made films. Countries like France, Germany, and Canada may respond in kind, levying their own tariffs on films made in Georgia, New York, or California. Some fear this could ignite a global film trade war.
If there's retaliation, it could kill indie sales and licensing deals. Europe might just stop buying American films altogether.
When we come back, what about the indie world, the global south, and the streaming giants? As the fog of confusion thickens, the global film community braces for impact.
It's been said all a long time again. As major studios brace for legal challenges, another corner of the film world is already feeling the tremors. Independent filmmakers,
and international producers who depend on cross-border cooperation to survive.
From Madrid to Mumbai, indie sales agents, streaming content advisors, and production services firms are asking what happens to us if the US market closes its gates.
We don't have the budgets of Disney or Universal. If we suddenly have to pay 100% tariff to access the US, our entire business model collapses. It's not sustainable. At film festivals like Berlin, Venice, and now the upcoming Cannes market, European and Asian filmmakers rely on American distributors to buy and license content. A tariff would make these deals prohibitively expensive. We're not importing cars, we're sharing stories. If Trump wants to isolate US screens, then so be it. Europe will produce for Europe. And the response might not stop there. Some industry experts are already warning that if other countries retaliate by tariffing US-made films, the US could find itself locked out of key international markets. This could devastate everyone. I work with an Indian state building a studio city banking on US investment. They're asking if it's still worth it, and I'm not sure what to tell them. Fracking also raises another issue. If Trump's policy makes overseas production too risky, studios may not turn to Georgia or New Mexico. They might just turn to machines. We'll see studios lean harder into AI, virtual sets, synthetic actors, automated workflows. It's cheaper than relocating your entire operation to a US soundstage. So while this policy is framed as job creating, many believe it may accelerate the replacement of human labor in entertainment, especially for below-the-line workers who build sets, manage lighting, and operate cameras abroad. Meanwhile, streamers like Netflix, Amazon, and Apple, who have bet big on global productions, are reportedly holding internal meetings. These companies rely on content made everywhere: Spain, South Korea, Brazil, Nigeria. It's unclear if streaming titles would fall under Trump's tariff threat. Would a Netflix original shot in Thailand be hit? Would a Hulu-acquired French series get blocked? No one knows. But in a streaming economy, borders blur, and that makes this policy even harder to enforce. Indie filmmakers in the global south, many of whom use US festivals like Sundance and Tribeca to launch their careers, fear being cut out entirely, as one African producer told us anonymously. If we lose access to the US audience, we lose hope. This is about visibility, not just economics. Coming up next, what does the future hold? Will this policy go through, or quietly disappear like so many of Trump's headline bombs? And what will the global film map look like if it doesn't?
So what happens now? Is Trump's proposed 100% film tariff a genuine policy shift? Or just another culture war stunt, meant to score points with his base? Like so many things with Donald Trump, the truth might lie somewhere between impulse and ideology. What's clear is that no one, from the White House to Hollywood, knows exactly how this will play out.
We just have to wait and see what Trump's next move is. It's like in chess, we don't know where this is going to go.
Industry insiders we spoke to are cautiously optimistic that this might be another headline-grabbing gesture that fizzles out. But even that kind of uncertainty causes damage. Films are planned years in advance. Co-production treaties, tax credits, and casting are all shaped by stability. And this announcement just shattered that trust.
We expect this will take time, and in the meantime, We will continue dialogue with our U.S. partners.
Back in Los Angeles, some are hoping the Motion Picture Association, the powerful Hollywood lobbying arm, can pull off damage control, perhaps even negotiate a federal incentive program to bring production home by persuasion, not punishment. Others say it's time for Hollywood to speak up. For too long, major studios have tiptoed around Trump's populist attacks on the arts. But this move hits at the heart of their bottom line and their global brand.
We're not just a business, we're America's greatest soft power export movies. We're how the world knows us. If you tariff that, you're isolating American imagination.
And then there's the question of political durability. If Trump loses re-election, the policy likely dies with him. If he wins, it could usher in a new era of economic nationalism, one where storytelling itself is subject to border control. Film is more than product, it's memory. Identity, empathy stretched across a screen, and in a world increasingly divided by walls and tariffs, cinema has remained one of the last bridges. The question now is, will we burn that bridge to make a point, or cross it together to tell a better story?
We'll be watching, reporting, and listening to voices from Atlanta, Rome, Mumbai, and Montreal. Because the future of film is global, and it's far from over.
For Voice of America, I'm Vincent Froome. Subscribe wherever you get your talk, and remember, Storytin belongs to everyone.